Okay, I'll call the public hearing of December 6th, 2017 to order at 6:45. Roll call, please.
Mayor Copeland,
Here.
James Burton,
Here.
Ken Jones is absent, Jeff Guard,
Here.
Robert Beadle is absent, David Allison,
Here.
James Weiss.
Here.
That's a quorum.
Okay, council, so we have a quorum by the skin of our teeth. And the items on the public hearing today are item 1, resolution 12-17-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, adopting an operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2018 and appropriating the amount of $14,843,052 as summarized pursuant to the following table. And the second item, and we'll just go ahead and read the second one, and then if the public wants to testify on one or the other, you can just specify which one you'd like to speak to. The second item is resolution 12-17-31, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, adopting service fees, rates, and charges for the 2018 calendar budget. That's on page 224 of the packet. So if any would like to testify on either of those items, just approach the microphone. Thank you.
Good evening, Alex Russin, Superintendent of Schools, Cordova School District, 209 South 2nd Street. You guys have done a lot of work on the packet, specifically on the budget, and I know lots of folks appreciate that. I want to just comment briefly on the allocation that's being provided to the school district at $1.5 million for our budget, as well as the in-kind contributions. Want to really acknowledge and appreciate that amount. As I've mentioned in previous communication and public comment, once the district starts getting into our budget process for the school year here in the spring, we may need to come back and ask you for a little bit more revenue, just based on what our needs are. We have moving targets and lots of variables as it comes to constructing our own budget. Several things of which are out of our locus of control, the base student allocation from the state legislature, and a variety of other things. But again, when we do come back, if we do need to ask for additional funds to maintain the quality of education programs, we will be very strategic and very surgical, I guess, in being specific as to what those needs will be, and any allocations that the council will consider certainly appreciated. We can't continue to maintain the status quo for our kids, otherwise we'll fall behind. And, we're wanting to look at building programs around science, technology, engineering, and math, allied health career fields, which we know is a growing need in our state. And we want to be poised and ready to be able to provide those opportunities to our kids, both in the near future and in the distant future. So respectfully, I want to put those notes on the record and thank you for the work that you've done in getting the budget to its point today.
Alex, the city is going to be working on capital priorities, and as we get close to the legislature, if there are any specific things that the city and our lobbyists can help with in Juneau, let us know so we can have a coordinated effort to try to get the state to pony up what we can.
Yeah, will do. And if I would make one more comment as it relates to capital needs. The city manager, Lanny, and myself have had some correspondence about some facility needs. He's offered his maintenance personnel to be working with the district specifically on our school gym at the high school, the gym floor. Some of you are aware of that situation that's kind of come about. So again, just appreciate Mr. Lanning's effort at having his staff work with ours to address those needs, and we really appreciate that working relationship.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Are there comments on the budget item or the rates and fee schedule?
Barb Jewell, Cordova School Board, and I just want to, I appreciate the comments the superintendent made. The one piece I would add to that, sometimes I get comments about reminding us, and this is a broad array of people have said, you know, gosh, the city funds above the minimum, well above the minimum. And it's true. And I would echo the superintendent's comments about the fact that we appreciate it and we recognize it. We brag about it at the legislature, at our state conferences. We're not able to commiserate with some other communities that don't have that level of support. I also want to point out that the quality of education and the services and education that Cordova has are well above the minimum as well. And our goal is to continue providing well above the minimum services in terms of education for our kids. So I wanted to, again, kind of like the superintendent, put that on record, that we appreciate it and recognize it. And I think that has been an intentional community goal to fund above the minimum and to have schools that are well above the minimum. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Other comments on work session items, public hearing items? Council? Okay, we'll just leave it open here for a few minutes. Yeah, Councilman Guard and Burton, just for your information, we have about 10 people in the audience here, just so you kind of know what the...
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make a comment, what the heck?
Okay. We have one about to make good use of our time.
Greg Meyer, 1 Cannery Row. I just want to make a comment on the motor fuel tax that you guys put in, and I was for it. I found out that Kodiak motor fuel tax is 21 cents. Anchorage just put one in that's 10 cents, and we did 4 cents, so I don't think that was too much. So it's nice finding out what other fishing communities do and see, you know, what we can do and why not, you know.
But Kodiak only has a 7% sales tax on top of their raw fish tax and burn taxes.
And I don't know, the raw fish tax you have in the budget, is that what it's actually called? When I was processing it was called the fisheries business tax.
You may be correct.
Yeah.
It's just the way it was listed in the budget before, and I never bothered to. I think it is a fisheries business tax.
There's a separate one we get called the shared fisheries business tax.
Yeah.
Based on the FMA.
Yeah.
That's Williams Sound, but that's
We split that 3 ways,
$3,000 rate.
and I don't know, it was listed as raw fish tax.
I call it
The other one we call from the Department of Revenue, we call it the raw fish tax. Whereas the shared fisheries one is from DKCD.
they call it the surprise tax because we never know what it's going to be until we get the check.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
All right, thank you. Whole package of this right now. So we're in a public hearing if you've just come in, and the 2 items are the approval of the operating and capital budget for this year and the adoption of the service fees, rates, and charges for the 2018 year. And we're just gonna leave it open for another 4 minutes here, in case there's any other public comments. So I'll just use this minute, Councilman Guard, to just let you know that we had 4 or 5 various representatives of Department of Transportation here, kind of laying out the very rough preliminary scope and schedule of the pedestrian way on White Shed Road. And just at a high level, there's some real challenges with it. Kind of mucky ground on one side and cliffs on the other side in some places, and then some pinch points where there's rock encroaching right out into the highway. And then there's land encroachments too into the right of way for various reasons. So it's not going to be an easy or inexpensive project. But they're right now targeting getting a construction management general contractor contract in place over this winter, so they can get a contractor on board to help design and innovate some ideas to try to keep the whole project under $8 million. And if they're successful with that, they're looking at going out to bid, and they'll back check those estimates again with a target of $8 million, and then hope to begin construction in 2020. So that's kind of where that's at. And they plan to be back in Cordova again.
Thank you. Was White Shed the only thing we talked about, or did we talk about the road up to the Orca plant too?
They just talked about White Shed, excuse me, during their presentation, the work session. But are you asking about the, they didn't talk about the road out to Orca, but I was in a different meeting with DOT a couple weeks ago, and they said that that's moved up to 2020.
Okay, thank you.
And they did talk a little bit just in the extra time we had afterwards. They did drive out to Power Creek Road and looked at that. Power Creek Road's closed again today for flooding, and they drove out and looked at that road, and they were able to sneak in and get the surveying done. So that's actually on kind of a fast track in terms of how long these projects generally take. So. Is there any other public comments on the budget or the fees and schedules for 2018? Okay, I think I'll go ahead and adjourn the public hearing. Just take a 3-minute recess before the regular meeting. 2017 to order at 7 o'clock. Please join me in pledging the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Copeland,
Here.
James Burton,
Here.
Ken Jones is absent, Jeff Guard,
Here.
Robert Beadle is absent, David Allison,
Here.
James Weiss,
Here.
Olivia Carroll.
Here.
That's a quorum of council.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the regular agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, agenda is approved as presented. Disclosures of conflicts of interest. Does council have any conflicts to declare?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Allison.
I don't perceive it as a conflict, but just so that it's out there, my daughter is participating in the Tsunami Bowl, which is sponsored and taught by the Science Center.
Okay, I don't see that as a conflict.
Just wanted it to be,
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't think there's any financial benefit there unless there's some prize money involved. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman
I do
Allison.
have I don't know if this is the appropriate place to disclose ex parte communications.
It is. I was going to mention that, but go ahead, please.
Nothing was necessarily discussed, but Katrina Hoffman from the Science Center did stop by where I was sitting at the food fair the other day, Saturday at the bazaar, and asked me if I had any questions. I didn't have any questions for her, so that was it, other than cordiality. So nothing was discussed, but just in case somebody saw her and I talking, it's clear what was discussed.
So council, the way quasi judicial actions work is that when council acts as kind of an adjudicating body, like for setting property tax or selling property in certain transactions, that all the information gathering and background should happen for all of council. So for instance, if council is going to be deciding on whether a business owner is in violation of statutes or something, then those, you should avoid one-on-one conversations. But if you have them, you can avoid a violation by just bringing it to the council's attention at the meeting. So for instance, we have the Science Center request on the agenda today. So if the director of the Science Center has talked with various councilmen, it just helps with public perception to let council know that you had a conversation and what information was divulged, if any. Then all the council has that information, and it helps with the decision making and transparency. So this, if there were any ex parte communications, now would be the time to declare those, and that's what Councilman Allison was doing.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Weiss.
my son and Katrina's kids had a play date on Sunday. Anyway, when she came to pick them up, we didn't really discuss anything. She asked if I had any questions while I was there, and I didn't, but it was, information was offered if I was curious, and I wouldn't.
Okay, good. Yeah, the information sharing is good because it helps inform decisions. It's just good to make sure that the whole council gets that information. So thank you. So any other conflicts or ex parte contact?
This is Jeff. I don't think it was a conflict because I did not open the email or read it, but I received an email from Katrina asking if I had any, the header on it was asking if I had any questions, but I didn't open it, read it, or respond to it, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Nope.
And
Total conflict.
And I did too as well, actually. And I didn't have any questions, but I'm not one of the decision makers. But and that's just good. It's good communication to have good information. Again, it's just something we need to disclose when we're acting as a body. Okay, thank you,
I think we
Council.
probably all received the same email. I got it to it.
Okay. Okay, great. And
Proper too.
an easy thing to do too is if you do have a question or something, just run it through Susan so that she can get the questions and answers to all of council, or if several questions come in, she can forward those to the individual and then they can answer them all, then it all goes to council. Okay, thank you. We don't have any guest speakers scheduled for tonight other than the work session. So now is time for audience comments regarding any of the items on the agenda this evening. And if you could just approach the microphone and try to speak closely for our councilmen that are online. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Katrina Hoffman, 301 South 2nd Street. Wanted to start off by saying thank you for a couple things. One, thanks for letting Clay know about our conversations. And secondly, earlier in the year when you were working on strategic planning with Alan Lanning, you prioritized development of new facilities for the Science Center as an item of concern. And tonight you have an opportunity to act on that priority that you identified in the strategic plan to take one step, or two actually, to make ASLS 2001-5 available and to direct the staff to proceed with disposal of it through direct negotiation with the Science Center. There's, in a world where nothing is perfect, there's a lot of alignment of things right now in that neck of the woods in Cordova that will make it ideal to do some planning and development of sites. Both upcoming renovations to the fish cleaning station, possible addition of a kayak launch. The Copper River Watershed Project is acquiring 4 lots. They're in the process of acquiring 4 lots, and I don't mean to speak for the Watershed Project, from the Stearns family, which is immediately adjacent to the parcel we're interested in. As well as, large-scale repaving efforts that are coming down the road that the state is going to participate in, where we could be taking advantage of that opportunity when the road is torn up to add some assets like a pipe that could facilitate running seawater to laboratories or something of that nature. We have a building that's about the size of a single-family home, and we're one of the largest wintertime employers in Cordova. And most people don't know this, but we rent 8 facilities in town, and they're distributed across, 13 miles of area. Some of them are out by the airport, and most of them are in town. And our facilities limit our abilities at this point. I would love to be expanding our revenue generating opportunities and the number of staff that we employ, and the opportunities that we offer to other people, solutions for Cordovans, education programs, and that sort of thing. And that can be enabled by better facilities. I know that no one site is perfect, and there are questions and concerns about adjacent issues. I do believe if you make this site available, which has been unanimously recommended by the Parks and Rec Commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission, that we are willing to work with Parks and Rec, Planning and Zoning, the city staff, and other parties in the area, the Watershed Project, for example, and adjacent neighbors, to make sure that the master plan is designed in a way that most people's needs and concerns are met. And so we're excited to have this opportunity to work with you. I'm really enjoying the collaborative atmosphere, and thanks for taking our needs into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, council? Okay. Other public comments on agenda items?
Hi, Kristen Carpenter. I guess speaking first as staff of the Copper River Watershed Project, and I'll just follow up on what Katrina said and say that we have been participating in planning meetings at Parks and Rec Commission meetings and talking to the Science Center about their plans, their ideas for developing a new facility out in Shelter Cove, and we're talking with them to make sure that things dovetail with what we would like to do out there. And it is an exciting time. I want to echo what Katrina said, because I think there are a lot of great recreational opportunities for that area that could benefit the whole community. So we're excited about that. And then the other item on my list is I just want to speak in favor of the interest that Ann Schaefer has expressed in filling the vacant seat on council. I think she'd be a great addition. There's clearly a lot of support for her, and my experience has been really positive with her as a volunteer and just a really enthusiastic and responsible colleague around town. So I hope you give her application strong consideration. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Other comments on agenda items?
No.
I see at least two more.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Smallwood. I'm Vice Chair of the Science Center Board. And I just have one small addition to make, comment. The proposal that we've generated that has occasioned this meeting would, I think, not take anything away from the existing structure and facilities, but would add immensely to it. There have been some concerns that, loss of the camping spaces and things like that. I think from our discussions that that's not going to be an issue, that it will be we will be adding value, not subtracting from that point of view. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening, Scott Pega, 110 Mount Eccles Estates. I'm here to speak in support of Ann Schaefer's application for the council seat. I see that you have both Ann Schaefer and Tom Baylor. I've had the pleasure of working with both. I think they both are very hardworking. They're both very dedicated. And so I think that you are fortunate that you have two very good applications. But I do think Ann actually can bring things that Tom can't. Tom may have experience on the council, but Ann has a different perspective, provides a little bit of diversity to the council, and I think that is important, that we try to represent as much of the community as possible. And I know I can't think the same way my wife does. So, I have a hard time thinking that we all think exactly alike. And so having a different kind of opinion would be of benefit. I say Ann is very hardworking. She's very dedicated. The other thing is, we also have a hard time getting people to volunteer to do things for city service. And this provides a great opportunity to bring in someone new, to give them a chance to see what the process is like, give them the opportunity to participate. And so hopefully can bring in, another generation of people to participate in the city throughout. I know she's already working on the Parks and Rec Commission, and so anything we can do to bring more people in, rather than to have several of us going, are you going to put in a letter this year? I don't know. I think we need to expand our pool as much as we can. So I definitely hope that you will consider Ann Schaefer's application. Like I say, I think she would bring a lot to the council. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Other audience comments on agenda items?
Good evening, council, and thank you. My name is Mike Mahoney, and I'm a board member at the Science Center. And I just wanted to briefly state that I would ask for your support for ASL, or making ASLS 2001-5 available to the Science Center. The folks before me did a great job describing it. I think it'd be a great spot for the Science Center to allow us to expand and to do the things we need to do to advance our mission and to bring more revenue into this community. And one thing that we are proud of at the Science Center is our education program. We do a lot of good science and research, and we also do a lot of good education for the community here. And I see that location as a really excellent place to do an expanded curriculum in terms of outdoor science education. It's a great location, and it's really exciting for me to think about the possibilities there, especially when we talk about collaboration with other groups in the community, such as the Watershed Project. So that's all I have to say on this, and thank you for allowing my comments tonight.
Thank you. So Councilman Guard and Burton, we have about 25 in the audience now, so for the regular meeting. Other audience comments on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your feedback. I know council always appreciates hearing what's on your mind, so thanks. Chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions, CCMC.
Thanks. So Kristen Carpenter with the Cordova Community Medical Center Authority Board. I can just give a really quick update. I know you all probably been following a little bit the developments with the pharmacy, and the pharmacy has reached agreeable terms with Dave O'Brien, and so Dave O'Brien, I think it's already been posted, but he said his last day with the pharmacy being open is gonna be Saturday. And then on Sunday, there'll be a transfer of some of the inventory, and then on Monday, the pharmacy in Cordova will be at the medical center.
Oh.
And Scott tells me that he's also working on an agreement with Ilanka so that they can also use the pharmacy for their patients, and they're hoping to have an agreement in place by the end of the year and have that be effective by April. So we could also, that would be one way of collaborating with those folks. And I was just gonna point out some of the, some things on the financial side. We have, at this point, double the cash on hand that we did at this time last year. So it's not a huge amount, but it's going in the right direction. And where did my page go? In general, I think we're about $1.5 million ahead of where we thought we would be budget-wise, based on the projections, although this past month there was a pretty big contractual allowance because we have had more swing bed revenue, so we booked a contractual allowance because we know we're gonna have to pay the feds back for some of that, so that's how that works. We make money, they take some of it back, but, and we haven't approved a budget yet, but we're gonna have a special meeting in the next few weeks. Scott's been working with department managers to involve them in figuring out their department's operating budget and expenses for the year, so I think those are the main things I was going to point out. I talked about the pharmacy. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll just mention, Kristen, when I was in Anchorage last week, I was invited for a tour of the ANMC facilities, Alaska Native Medical Center facilities, and they have partner agreements with several communities, and their model is not to go in and move all the patients to their facilities. That's to collaborate with them. So if I, if you like, I can get together with Scott or at your next board meeting and just give a real brief. But there's some pretty deep resources there, and they've got some quite a few agreements with other communities where they those clinics are in partnership with their facilities, and it's working out pretty good for both. So
great, that'd be great.
Any questions for Kristen, council? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
School board? Anything to add? You don't have to give a report.
I don't think we have anything to add.
Okay, we'll take a pass. Thank you very much for your comments earlier. And now we get to do a student council representative report from our new student council representative, Olivia Carroll.
Hi, my name is Olivia. I would like to preface this by thanking the city for everything they do. As we all know, the gym floor is a concern of our students. Many of them have brought it to the attention of student council that it needs fixing, especially the PE people and the basketball players. It's just a real big problem for them. I would also like to mention that at our school, we use science a lot, and hearing the concerns of the Science Center tonight really brought forward to my attention how much we use it. The education we get from it is amazing. It's hands-on, and it's not what a lot of people get from many other places. I think it's an amazing asset, and the school really supports it and loves it. The music department would like to thank everyone who came to the concert last night, and thank you for your continued support of us. The wrestlers travel to regionals tomorrow, wish them luck, and the robotics team at our school travels to their state qualifier this weekend. Thank you.
Great. Who's going to win the Deck the Halls competition next week?
Oh, the juniors.
Okay. Thank you. It's great to have a student council report again. So next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. Roll call, please. There's 2 items. Council wants to break any out. Roll call.
Yes. On the consent calendar, James Weiss,
Yes.
and Jones is absent, Robert Beadle is absent. David Allison,
Yes.
James Burton,
Yes.
Jeff Guard.
Yes.
The consent calendar is approved.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes of the November 1st public hearing and regular meeting and the November 15th regular meeting.
Move to approve.
You have a motion to approve
Second,
and a second.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Allison.
Yeah, on the 11:15:17 minutes, I was not in attendance, but I just have it's probably just a clerical thing, but technically Hallquist was still a member of council up until the point of certification of the election, and he's not listed in the roll call, but he is listed as a non-voting member for everything that was voted on throughout the whole meeting. So if that can just be fixed before they're put in the permanent records, that he was not voting up until the point of certification. Once we certified the election, he was no longer a council member, so it should not be listed after that.
Okay, so he would have been absent.
Yep, I can do
Absent
that.
up until the point of
Gotcha.
certification. And then-
Okay, thank you. And did I understand, Councilman Allison, that you were present?
I was not present.
Okay, not present.
I was just from the
Okay,
minutes
great.
themselves.
Oh, I understand. Okay, thank you. Any other additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the minutes as corrected?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved with that correction. We don't have any bids to consider this evening, so reports officers. I have my mayor's report submitted. I just add that I attended Board of Fish this last weekend, and I thought it went very well for Cordova, extremely well represented. CDFU, PISWAC, the processors, probably more than 20 Cordova fishermen, and the board retained all the existing regulations and escapement goals on the copper, which is good. There was significant pressure to reallocate the commercial catch, and the board adopted unanimously with quite a bit of enthusiasm a subsistence salmon fishing opener on Saturdays for the Cordova district from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Throughout the season, and I think it just has to be at least 24 hours and at least 24 hours before a commercial opener. So very specifically, they felt like that was very fair for the working families of the community and the working fishermen around the state that work in this area, that they have access to a subsistence fishery. So I thought that was a great win. And I mentioned I had a chance to meet with Roald Helgeson and ENMC staff and get about a 3-hour tour of their facilities and capabilities there. So that was pretty eye-opening. So if there's any other questions of me, I'll pass to the manager's report.
Should you approve the budget this evening, this is what the finished product will look like. It'll all be in color. It'll be very nice. In the back of the budget where there's just blank pages now, in the appendices, all of the fee schedule, which you will consider later, will be added there as well, and all those pages will be filled up. There will be some minor corrections, draft date. There will be a couple things, but nothing material will change in the budget. And then that budget, once it's cleaned up, it will be published. All council members will receive a copy. Alex will get a copy. Scott will get a copy. We'll have a few other people get copies of that. It'll be available online, and you can print your own copy, or we will gladly provide you with a copy for a nominal fee that we have listed in the fee schedule in the budget. Remind you, I sent you an email that I will be gone from the 20th of December till January 7th for Christmas holiday, and as I always do, I will leave you my contact information. After the first of the year, we will engage in a strategic planning update. So I expect that we will start with 1 2-hour session, much like we did when we did strategic planning. I have a list of items I'd like you to consider, and you may have some as well. As an example, last year's strategic planning, we talked about RV parks. And we've spent that time in between, thanks to Sam, developing a full proposal with costs. And it's pretty comprehensive, so we'll give you a presentation on that. If I may digress for just a moment, I want to thank Leif for all the effort that he put into the budget. Everything you see here, we just provided numbers, and Leif put everything into graphs and charts and made it look very nice. So just want to say thank you very much to him for all his hard work. And then, so the strategic planning, we'll go forward with that. And I hope that we have all council members there so that we can, that'll be pretty in-depth, because that will set the tone again, not only for what we've already said about 18, what we're going to do going in 18, but what we'll do in 19. So when we start preparing the budget again in May, we'll have our agenda for 2019 going forward. And finally, the last council meeting, I believe it was last council meeting, the council approved 3 tax proposals. The motor vehicle fuel tax, the raising of the cap on single sales for sales tax, and the timely payment remittance. We just put out a press release on that. It was a very general press release to notify businesses and people that those changes are there. And Kathy Sherman is going to be putting out several pieces in several places regarding individual explanations of those items and how they will impact the various stakeholders in those taxes. So you'd be looking for that. And of course, if you have questions, you can always come in and ask finance about that. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of the manager? Councilman Gard or Burton? Okay, hearing none. Okay, thank you. Clerk's report?
I just wanted to say that press release was, on hold for the 30-day waiting period on those ordinances, so that's why that just went out. Because even though they're not effective until January 1st, they still had a 30-day wait period, so we had to wait for that. Otherwise, I've been busy with this 300-page packet and coordinating a lot of correspondence this time. Sorry for the major flurry of emails I sent you. But when I get correspondence in between packets, I often send them to you by email so you have them right away, because I know you don't check your boxes as often if I were to just put a copy in a box. And then I got about 20 letters, so
Okay.
that's why the emails kept coming.
If this budget's approved, can I just have this one bound?
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks for saving the copies.
It's a lot of.
Otherwise, I'm going to begin working on I've already begun working on the calendar for the next election coming up, March 6th of 18. The advertising for that will begin late December, early January, so get thinking about that. That's it.
Any questions, council? Okay, hearing none. We have correspondence as noted. Ordinances and resolutions. In council, I realize Councilman Allison brought this to my attention. On item 33, resolution 12-17-29, you actually appoint the vice mayor later in the agenda on item 37. But if you want to adopt this, we can just make that administrative change to add that name when they're elected. So we can keep the order on the agenda. So this item is resolution 12-17-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing Kathy Sherman, Information Services Director, Susan Bourgeois, City Clerk, Clay Copeland, Mayor, name of to be elected, Vice Mayor, Samantha Greenwood, City Planner, Anthony Chanella, Harbor Master, and Weston Bennett, Superintendent of Facilities, to sign checks, vouchers, notes, other documents, and have access to the safe deposit box as authorized by the City Council.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Councilman Allison?
No, I don't have any questions.
Discussion, council? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I think I heard 2 ayes online. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'm hoping my voice holds up to the end here. Next item, resolution 12-17-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, adopting an operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2018 and appropriating the amount of $14,843,052 as summarized pursuant to the following table.
Move to approve resolution 12-17-30.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilman Luis, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, we spent hours and hours on this, and I like to thank Andrew Lanning and everybody for the time we've all spent and put into this, and we've given a lot of time for public weigh-in and discussion, and there's been a lot of back and forth, and I hope we can get her passed.
Okay, other discussion, council?
Mayor?
Councilman Allison?
Yeah, I don't have any, again, like James said, we've been working on this for quite some time. An hour workshop before each council meeting for the last, I don't know how many it's been, 5 or 6 anyway. And maybe more than that. So we've hashed it out a lot. We've added a little bit of revenue and made some cuts and aren't taking money out of the permanent fund. So I think all in all, it's a good budget. I just have 2 comments regarding things that we didn't spend as much time on the enterprise funds as we did on the general fund. It was kind of rushed off. We were notified that the harbor would have the 10% increase, and some of this refers to the next resolution as well with the fees. But we did have some discussion on the garbage enterprise fund previous to the budget. The discussion on whether we bail or haul still has to take place. we are currently hauling and not baling. We know what the costs are for that is, approximately $250,000 up front before we can bale again. And that isn't addressed anywhere in this budget, and neither is the amount we were told that it was going to cost, whether we bale or not. Over the next 10 years, it's going to be $1 million expense, and probably not at the 10-year point. It will happen, in increments somewhere between there. Even if we just haul, we're going to have equipment needs, and that is not addressed in this budget. There is no increase to the garbage fees, and therefore no increase in any revenues or stockpiling of any money to pay that $1 million bill. So I'm not moving to change that at this point in time, but everybody needs to be aware that when we start strategic planning in January, it's going to hit at some point in time. If we decide we're going to bail again, it's a $250,000 bill that day before we start bailing. If we don't start bailing and we keep hauling, there's going to be a big bill when the first truck breaks down and can't be repaired. So anyway, there's an expense out there that isn't addressed in this budget that we do need to address in next year's budget. So I just wanted to make that comment. But other than that, I think we've hashed through the budget pretty well this year. We've got a balanced budget. Thanks staff for their work on that. And Lee for putting together all those graphs. Appreciate the work that everybody has put into it. Thank you.
Further discussion, council? Okay, this is a roll call vote, and since there are just 4 of you present, passing the budget does require a majority of the council, so I'll need to hear each vote because it will take all 4 of your affirmative votes to pass the budget. So, roll call, please.
Robert Beadle is absent. Ken Jones is absent. Jeff Gard.
Yes.
David Allison.
Yes.
James Weiss.
Yes.
James Burton.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay. Next item is Resolution 12-17-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, adopting an operating and capital budget for fiscal year.
You're on the next one.
Oh, wait a minute. Where'd I go? Okay.
31.
I'm getting behind on the agenda. I thought that sounds familiar. Item 35, Resolution 12-17-31, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, adopting service fees, rates, and charges for the 2018 calendar budget.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilman Allison, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I think, this is tied in with the budget. I think the numbers in here are reflected in the budget, and there aren't too awful many changes other than the fees for use of this facility and in the harbor, so I'll support it.
Okay, further discussion, council? Okay.
I've got one quick question on this.
Yes, Councilman Gard. Go ahead.
When we talked about the increase on the single sales tax cap, we had talked about excluding construction materials from the hike, leaving them at the existing $3,000 cap. Is that in here?
I could let I could let Manager Lanning correct me. This is the fees, rates, and charges schedule, so it's not the taxes. This is
that is not in this fee schedule. The fee schedule is for daily items, sort of, and uses that we charge. Changes to the policy regarding exclusions in the cap will be a policy decision going forward. Again, we'll have to, as part of our strategic planning, we'll review those exemptions and exceptions again. That's going to be an ongoing thing for us, and that exclusion would be identified in that cap if it's not, in that document if it's not already identified.
But just be cognizant that those revenues would also change, so.
Yes, well, we've sort of programmed that into what we're thinking here, but just we need to specify any exclusions that you choose to exclude.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions or discussion, council? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add one thing now that those are done? You know, if you I appreciate Councilman Allison's input on the things that are not addressed in the budget, and that as we prepared this, we kind of walked our way through what this budget entails. You know, the 2017 budget was sort of right at the end of the year, just cut it, get it done, get it out the door. This had a little more thought into it in terms of revenues and moving forward. You know, we considered rate increases as we prepared this budget, but given the request for tax increases, we really, as a staff, chose not to bring forward any rate increases. As we move forward, if you look in the budget in page 222 and several pages before that, as I indicated early on, we have inserted some rate analyses for you to consider. And you can see, and we can have individual discussions on these, you can see what it will take to raise the replacement money for that enterprise 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I think 20 years, and the rates go up correspondingly. So they're kind of presented in a different way for each one, but just to note that those are in there for your viewing, and it certainly has to be part of the discussion and our indication that early on we would have an additional discussion about hauling versus bailing. We're still continuing discussions with the watershed folks about moving forward on that. So all of those things are unfolding and still playing into this, but just wanted to point that out. In the fee schedule, we just shuffled around some of the fees relative to the Cordova Center based upon last year's experience, where we thought there was room to gain and places where we needed to trim back, which are Kathy's purview. But the only other couple of fees, like we raised the daily impound fee from $10 a day to $20 a day to make it more, for a couple of things like that. And other than that, the fee schedule is pretty consistent, as Councilman Allison stated.
Thank you. Okay, council, we don't have any unfinished business on this agenda, so under new business, council election to fill the vacancy in council seat F, and just do this by open nomination. Councilman Allison.
Mr. Mayor, I'd nominate Ann Schaefer to fill the seat of council seat E until the next election.
Okay, Ann Schaefer's been nominated. I didn't quite catch that, Councilman Garden.
But I second that.
Okay, it doesn't require a second, but are there any additional nominations? Any nominations online? Okay, hearing none, council can move to close nominations.
Move to close nominations.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, nominations are closed, and since you've only nominated one candidate, I just move for appointment by unanimous consent. If there's no objection. Okay, Councilman Schaefer, welcome. So we haven't sworn you in under the oath yet, so There's not a lot of business left on this. You're welcome to join the council if you like. We could probably wait till next meeting to vote, but okay, well, thank you for your interest. Council election of vice mayor. Next item, nominations.
I nominate Dave Allison.
Okay. Councilman Allison's been nominated. Are there further nominations? I don't see any objections. So I'd entertain a motion to close nominations.
Move to close nominations for vice mayor.
Councilman Guard, were you moving to close nominations?
Yes.
Okay, got it. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, since there's only one nomination, no objection, move by unanimous consent. Okay, thank you, Councilman Allison.
Thank you.
And now we can supply your name to Resolution 12-17-29. You can be a check signer. Next item is council action to make Alaska State Land Survey 2001-5 available on the land disposal maps, page 246. Councilman Allison.
I move to make ASLS 2001-5 available in the 2017 land disposal maps.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilman Allison, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I think it's been commented by several members of the public this evening. I've always supported the Science Center in their efforts to find a new facility. We've looked at several different properties over the course of the last, I don't know, it's probably been 15 years now. I don't know, time kind of flies. We've been looking for a long time, and the properties adjacent to their current location haven't worked out and have other uses. And this seems to be a pretty decent location for them. It works well with the Stern property. Whether the watershed project gets that property or not, it's still designated for recreation. That's what their Sterns are desired for. And we've been in those discussions with them as well. So I think this is a good location for them. I think we've got other locations if need be to put camping tents, and we've talked about some other locations for expanding our camper park, and I think that there's other options for that, and it seems to be a good option for the Science Center here, so I would support this. It's been unanimously supported by both the Parks and Recs Commission as well as the Planning Commission, so I think it appears to be a broad-based good project for the community.
Further discussion, council?
I would just second everything Councilman Allison says, and I think as far as camping and everything like that goes, if there's, we're always looking for the next thing to make Cordova great. This is definitely going to be it. I definitely fully support this Science Center. It's the reason my wife's a biologist today. I hear that all the time. And as far as camping and recreation, I think if something's like they're providing world-class science, that's only going to serve to make that available, more local area available to be utilized. No, I thank them for wanting to stay here so much. It's important to us.
Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Councilman Burton?
I said aye. I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. It got drowned out there. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is the council action on the disposal and method of disposal of Alaska State Land Survey 2001-5.
I just have a question prior, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Allison.
Has this gone through the other step? I know that the planning commission has a resolution to this effect, but is this gone through the steps already from the giving us a letter of interest and then the planning commission recommending to us?
This is where it's at right now.
That's where we're at right now with council having that. Okay. With that, I move to direct the city manager to dispose of ASLS 2001-5 as outlined in Cordova Municipal Code 5.22.060B by negotiating an agreement with Prince William Sound Science Center to lease or purchase the property.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilman Allison, would you like to speak to your motion?
Again, pretty much what I said at the last, by making it available, we'll probably hear some from some folks that they might not have had the opportunity to put in a proposal on this project like we have on a lot of our properties, but I think this is the highest and best use for the property at this time. Time is of the essence, and I think this is a good proposal, and anybody would have had the opportunity to do the same thing the Science Center has done here. So I support this. I hope that they get their project underway, and anything else that, assuming this passes, that we can do to support that project, please bring that forward.
Further discussion, council? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. I don't know if it's appropriate for a mayor to chair after council action, but I think this is a huge step forward for Cordova. Next item is council concurrence of mayor's appointments to the Historical Preservation Commission.
Should I have put that in the consent calendar?
Okay.
No, I was
Should
kidding.
have. It's okay.
Yeah, so-
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Allison.
I move to concur with Mayor Copeland's appointment of Nancy Bird as the P&Z Commission Rep to HPC for a term through November 2018, and to concur with Mayor Copeland's appointment of Jim Casement to another 3-year term to the HPC to expire in November 2020.
Second.
Okay. Is that supposed to be November 2018? Oh, 18, that's right, next year. Okay. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Appreciate our volunteers. Pending agenda, calendar, and elected and appointed officials list. Page 260 here. I'm sorry, page 266.
So I was just wondering what availability was on December 20th, but of course, there's only 4 of you here to answer that.
I'll be there.
Yes? Okay. I mean, Al's not gonna be here, but we could still have a meeting, and, you know, there's a couple of things in the works. I think planning might have a couple of things. They'll meet before that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know holiday plans, if the 20th was gonna be travel for anyone.
I should be here.
Okay. We also have a work session on the 18th with NVE, and I was thinking that we could throw anything on there that was necessary for a special meeting if we had to, but in the end, it might be an ordinance from planning on marijuana, so really it's more worthy of a regular meeting, so.
Are we looking at a special meeting this week then?
And then, depending on those executive session items, Alan thought we might need a special on Friday at noon. Can people call in, or can I at least get 4 of you on a Friday noon special if we need one?
This Friday?
Yes.
Yes.
1, 2 guys on the phone?
If Barry goes, I'll be traveling on Friday.
Okay.
Hear your
Any councilmen in the audience gonna be here Friday?
Oh,
Okay.
I forgot about that.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Burton.
was that this coming Friday? I couldn't understand the date.
It
Yes.
was this coming Friday
Yeah,
at noon.
I should be available.
Okay,
Okay.
great, thank you.
Okay.
And then council, I think you had put a review of the capital priorities list for the legislature on the December 20th agenda. But John Bitney got in touch with us and he plans on being here for the January 3rd meeting. And he said that would be plenty timely for his purposes. So if you'd like to push that prior capital priorities up to the January 3rd meeting, that would be probably timely to have Bitney there to walk through us with that. Okay.
Okay, that was all I needed.
Okay. Anything else for the pending agenda, council? Okay, great. Okay, audience participation. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to tonight's business or otherwise? Okay, seeing none. Council comments. I'll start with Councilman Weiss.
Ann Schaefer, you got called out by a councilman the last meeting to step up and be a change you wanted to see, and you did it. Congratulations. I think you're going to do a great job. It's a great meeting. We don't get the chance to move forward with this many positives in an hour. So congratulations to the Science Center. Thank you for staying here. Just continuing your work here. And also with your partnerships, thank you for, it looks like you've talked to everybody about this and you're doing your best to make it great for everybody. It's really awesome to see. Let's see, Leif, thank you for all your work, putting everything in the budget. Clay, thank you for going to Board of Fish and advocating for subsistence. I'm really happy to hear. There's Saturday openers for all of us to attend. No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Gard?
I'd like to echo everything that was just said before me, and I'd also like to add that I'm happy we got the budget through tonight. It is not a perfect budget, but it's sure a very large step in the right direction. I'm happy to see us looking at the future and continuing to do so from Councilmember Allison's comments earlier for next year's budget. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Burton?
Yeah, so a couple things. I wanted to thank staff for the budget. That was a long process, and for Leif, to Leif for putting it together. That's probably the best looking budget we've had as far as graphic aids and things like that. So that was nice. On the Science Center and that proposal, I'm excited and very, very happy to see that. When we went through, previous attempts at trying to figure this out, I always thought that area, maybe not that lot specifically, but that part would be a fantastic area with a lot more room for them, access to a lot cleaner water than some other options that we had. So I'm really excited to see what they come up with. I'm happy, and I'd like to also welcome Ann. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Allison?
Yeah, I would like to as well welcome Ann and Olivia as well to the table here as our school board rep. And I wouldn't try to escape too fast, Ann. I think you probably should be involved in the executive session this evening. As a new council member, I would like to thank all of the volunteers who volunteer for all of our boards and commissions and council here as well. And thank Tom for putting in his name as well for the council to serve again. It's he knows what it's like. He knows that it's a thankless job a lot of times, and I appreciate him, his willingness to serve again. Thanks to staff for the budget, as evidenced by the lack of comments this evening and the lack of 75 people being in our audience. Probably all on YouTube. We'll hear from them later, but that just shows that staff did a good job on this budget. And thanks, Leaf, again for the graphs and everything. And we'll see everybody again before Christmas, so won't say Merry Christmas yet, but thank you everybody for your participation and helping us make the best decisions that we can for the community.
Mm-hmm. I just want to thank staff and council too. Put a tremendous amount of work in this year on the strategic planning. I think out of 6 or 7 sessions, there was 7 councilmen at almost every one. There might have been 6 at one. Just really an impressive amount of work in the work product, and working so hard to balance cuts and revenues and services and all the public feedback. And some of you in the audience have been here on behalf of the business community and private, just making lots of great suggestions and providing feedback to help guide council through some tough decisions. So thank you very much. I think Cordova's positioned very well. Very positive meeting. Okay, with that, we'll conclude the regular council meeting, and I just take a 5-minute recess to allow us to clear out for executive session. Thank you.
You don't have to move it yet. You can.
I'll just go ahead and recess for now, so thank you.